Polyp works here. Did I trick you? I hope I did. That thumbnail should have been clickbait enough. Anyway, Miss Goldenweek, also known as Marine, does not have the powers of a devilfruit. However, she is using the powers of a devilfruit. Let's get into it.
And just beat the devil out of it.
So before we get into talking about Miss Goldenweek, I think a little bit of preamble is needed so you can kind of get a baseline of where I'm coming from, okay? So there are times in One Piece where a devilfruit user's constructs can be used against them and without their permission, and sometimes they have no control of stopping this from happening. Namely in Thriller Bark, where Lola and the boys exercised and captured several shadows from zombies in order to use them against Moria. They ended up putting these shadows into Luffy, powering him up into Nightmare Luffy. Then, during the confrontation between Nightmare Luffy, Oars, and Moria, Moria was completely helpless in stopping the shadows from affecting Nightmare Luffy. They were completely under Luffy's control at that time. He had no power over them at all. Therefore, I'm saying that it is very possible for effects of a devilfruit to be used by other people and presumably against the user. This happens again in a bit of a small yet very subtle way during the events of Whole Cake Island, where Big Mom is able to turn a biscuit soldier into a homie for guarding purposes. So, as you know, biscuit soldiers are the main use of Cracker's ability, the biscuit fruit. And then she was able to turn multiple constructs of Parasparrow, the user of the Lick fruit, into homies as well. A frog and a slug she created and turned those into homies. So what I'm saying this to say is that I believe Miss Goldenweek, also known as Marine, is using something similar with her color trap ability. You might be asking, why can't color trap simply be regular paint being used under the influence of an abnormal painting technique? The thing about that is color traps in themselves are both too weird and too multifaceted, with too many very specific rules to simply be normal paint under the influence of an abnormal painting technique. When you see other techniques in One Piece that are martial arts or biologically based, they're somewhat rooted in reality. Fantastical reality, mind you, but reality. Here, there are too many very interesting and odd stipulations that certain martial arts and biological abilities just don't have. For example, in Little Garden, where Miss Goldenweek is fighting Luffy, she would paint things on his back and on the ground, and they would affect Luffy because he came in contact with the painted symbol. Also, said symbols are color-based and have different effects based on the color they are painted in. There is another situation in which Luffy is about to fire a Gum Gum Bazooka at Mr. Three's construct that has imprisoned Vivi, Nami, and Zoro. However, since Miss Goldenweek painted a red symbol on the ground, he attacked that instead in mid-attack. It seems too strange for this to be just normal paint if it can redirect attacks and attention simply by existing. I don't think this is normal paint. However, the oddest thing that happens with Miss Goldenweek is during the end of her cover story, in which she is successful in saving the rest of the Baroque Work members except for Mr. 2, Mr. 1, and Crocodile. She paints a rainbow in the air and grants all of the Baroque Work members their true purpose. And in doing that, clothes manifest on the Baroque Work members that reflect what they truly want to be. This is a reality warping technique if I am, as the reader, supposed to take it literally. You mean to tell me normal paint created clothes and accessories for multiple characters, even those that weren't on the ship immediately with Marine, but were in the prison where they just left from, namely Mr. 1 and Crocodile, whom also were affected by this technique? You mean to tell me this is normal paint that can create a rainbow in the air that manifests clothing and accessories. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. But what are the origins of these painting materials? I presume that Miss Goldenweek's palette and by extension perhaps her brush are affected by a devilfruit user. This devilfruit user, I presume, was her teacher in the past and the person that taught her how to paint using their ability, which she does during the little garden arc and her cover story. I believe this person most likely is the user of a paint fruit, seeing as how paint itself as a substance has not been infused inside of the fruit just yet in the series. We have had other art themed fruits before, such as ink in the form of the brush fruit held by Conjuro, and then we have had art as a general concept held by Jola of the Don Quixote family. However, we have not had paint, the substance, be a devilfruit ability quite just yet. So I think this person infused Miss Goldenweek's palette and brush with their abilities, and in doing so, neither will ever run out of paint, but retain all the same abilities that the paint fruit user can use themselves. Therefore, that's where you get the manifestation of clothing, the manifestation of different emotions based on the symbols painted, etc., etc. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like stuff like this, please feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Pauly P Works. And if you like what you see, I would appreciate your subscription. Thank you so much. See you next time.